What's going on, y'all? This is Alex Quinn, and you're listening to another episode of the Hustle Inspires Hustle podcast. On today's episode, we have Kevin Pimentel and Michelle Chia, digital marketers. We're going to be talking about local listings. For local listings, it's something very important for you guys to understand. There's a difference between SEO and local listing SEO. SEO people do on their websites, they rank for certain keywords and they get traffic to their website. Now, local listing SEO is when you show up on map packs, when you look up restaurants, laundromat, cleaners, any local business, those things that show up on the maps, all those informations, the reviews, everything, that's map packs. That's local listing SEO, whether it's Google, whether it's Apple Maps. So today we're going to be talking about how businesses can benefit from keeping these things updated, whether you're a restaurant, bar, club, gym, any brick and mortar business that operates locally will benefit from some of the stuff that we're going to talk about here today. So, Kev, Michelle, thanks for jumping on.
Thank you for having us again.
Likewise.
Again,
Yeah.
people like having you guys on, so we bring you back on. All right, so let's talk about some key factors that affect rankings on Google Business and Apple Maps. Michelle, I think that it would be great if you could start it off.
Sure. So when I say Google Business, I kind of mean like an overall citation listing site. So whether that be Google Business, Apple Maps, if you're a service-based business, you can be on Angie's List. If you're a restaurant, you can be on TripAdvisor, Yelp, even OpenTable and things along that nature. So again, some key factors I would say is to be on all those types of platforms, to be spread out on every single type of platform, depending on what your business would pertain to. I think those are some really good key factors. I would almost take those listing citation sites as your own social media, as its own Instagram, as its own Facebook. So basically the same way that you're constantly updating your Instagram. I have to post like 3 times a week on stories. I have to post 3 times a week on feed. That's the same type of mindset you should have for your Google business listing. So I need to be, we'll dive more into the specifics, but like something very specific would be to be posting every week a specific post. So for example, if you're a lawyer, right? So you have a Google My Business listing. A listing could be anything like putting your latest blog that you just wrote, right? And that's what would tie into your organic SEO. I would say probably like that's like the most important key factor is just always updating your Google business listing and making sure that everything is up to date, whether that's your phone number, your website, your address.
Holiday hours, yeah.
Yes, because you have actually no idea how many people you go onto your Google My Business site, and even as a consumer yourself, you know, the first thing you do when you want to hire somebody is you Google them, right? So you Google them, whether let's, for example, like best fine dining restaurant, right? So you go immediately to Google, and if you, let's say, have example A who has a full stack, really nice reviewed Google My Business, up to date photos, up to date posts, they have a website, they have a phone number, compared to, let's say, restaurant number 2, who probably has a little bit less reviews, zero photos, zero updated photos, zero posts, pretty much no presence on Google My Business. Who do you think you are more likely to go visit on a Friday night to go eat?
Yeah, so pretty much kind of bring everything together that you're saying is these websites need to be treated like social medias, meaning keep them updated so when people actually find you on them, it's relevant information. Whether if you're a restaurant, you have new menu items, your updated hours of operation. If you're a club, very similar. If you're a gym, very similar. And also be able to make sure that you have posts on them regularly planned out, specifically for Google My Business and for listing sites like that, Yelp, things like that. Now, it's good to understand that these things are going to take time, but for the most part, these platforms are all free. And one really other good thing, Kevin, I'll jump into it with that because we were talking about citations and SEO and all that, and it's going to tie into domain authority is when you have your business information on all these listing sites and link it back to your website, that is going to help your domain authority. And what domain authority is, if you don't know much about digital marketing, it's pretty much how Google and search engines rank you on a 0 to 100 scale on how much street cred, for example, let's say your website has. Is it fast, right? Is it right? Is it quick? Is it easy to read? Is it user friendly? Does it have all the info people are looking for? Do people look through multiple pages? And then it ranks you higher. So being on all these listing sites, it's very important. Being on blogs, being on magazines, very, very key stuff to look at. So Kev, I don't know if you have any points on that specific question or on anything that we mentioned.
Yeah, actually, so on the only other points I think that are worth mentioning are once you do have everything set up and you access these accounts and created them, one major important thing is that they're all linked to each other and that they're all pointing at each other. So on every single of these pages, you have all of your social medias on there, that you have links to any other, your website is listed on all of these profiles basically. So what they're seeing on the index on Google side is basically, okay, so this Yelp page also points to this Instagram, which this Instagram also points to this. And basically it sees a chain here. So it knows that there's a connection between all of these locations and these pages. So it just helps reinforce it, so that when someone does look for your business, you'll notice you can take up the entire first page of Google just from all of your profiles. And because they're all speaking to each other, showing a clear connection to the central brand that you're looking for. And the only other thing I'd mention is, once you do have these things established, the ongoing content that can be posted is one side. The other side is from other people, like actual customers or clients, so reviews. And really having a strategic review building strategy, so that way those reviews are coming in, they're being responded to. And in a review, what's really great is that it's an opportunity for more organic SEO, because what happens is when people, whether they complain or they give any sort of compliment, it's an opportunity for you to either give more information about the business or to answer a question that other people might have in the future that they can actually find in that review. So it's just another element of the process of building local SEO, that there's an attention and emphasis given in those areas like review building, and answering those questions strategically, so that you can build on that SEO with the information you can provide. But that's all I give.
That's right, Brian. We'll unpack the reviews a little bit more right now, because that's going to be another key part. Michelle, how much does a business's physical location impact its search ranking, and can it be improved if it's not nearby?
I wouldn't say location ties in a lot. Obviously, it's Google My Business, it's local SEO. So like a really great example would be for our own agency, right? We are Miami, right? But we're actually technically based in Hollywood, right? Which is more Broward if you guys aren't Florida based. I would say let's call it Fort Lauderdale, right? For those who don't know. So for example, it would be a little harder for our agency to rank for certain keywords, like example, digital marketing agency Miami compared to digital marketing agency Fort Lauderdale, right? Because that's where we're actually based. However, it is not going to make or break you, right? We actually ourselves still rank for Miami keywords, even though we're based in Fort Lauderdale. Yeah. I would actually say a good way to improve it, a good, I guess, kind of loophole way to do would be to do Google My Business ads. So for example, we have a restaurant client and we are based in, let's say, Miami Beach area. However, we do run ads, right? Paid sponsored ads. So nothing organic, paid ads to other zip codes that are a little further away from Miami Beach itself. So even let's say if you're in, let's do radius. So like, let's say you're 20 miles away from Miami Beach, you're still going to get hit with our ad because we're doing sponsored placement ads depending on the zip code or depending on the city. So that's an easy, almost like a cheat way, I would say, to kind of beat out the rankings and rank in a specific area code that you want to rank in.
Yeah. And to add to that, that's a great example. Thanks for bringing up the example with the client, because that was a perfect one. Another one to look at is with the reviews that you guys were kind of both touching on, is you could also encourage for people that are coming from other areas to visit your location, that, for example, they're coming maybe from like 15 or 20 minutes away, that they're going to leave you a review, that you have them mention, hey, I drove in from this and that location. I made the drive out here because I had a really good time. Just doing that could potentially help you as well. And then another thing is, I know we're not talking about website SEO right now. Right now, we're talking about listing management SEO. But if you also want to rank for other local cities, you could do local landers on your website that have your menu, for example, if you're like a restaurant or a club, or even a bar. And then you have like obviously the city right there. So that'll be able to help. But that wraps it up for that section of questions. Now we're going to move on to optimizing Google Business and Apple Maps. Michelle, what are the most effective ways to optimize a Google Business profile for better rankings? Meaning, let's say you just signed on a hotel client. They gave you access to the Google My Business. What are some of the first things that you're going to look at to make sure that they're actually hitting best practices?
I would say, besides, I don't want to jump too much into reviews because I know we're going to touch way more into that. But obviously, the first thing I check is obviously if they're answering their reviews. I would check when's the last time that they would upload a photo or even a post. Obviously would also, for example, a really, really good one that people don't really think on, like for example, on restaurants, is they usually don't have their menu uploaded to Google My Business. So Google My Business offer, and other actually platforms too, like Yelp and OpenTable, they offer a way for you to either upload your actual menu PDF or even put a link to the menu on your website. Again, because as a consumer, the first thing, especially for a restaurant, the first thing you want to see besides reviews is a menu. Is you want to see what food they have, the prices, sometimes even photos. And then from there, people are able to easily access your menu page straight from your Google My Business. So they don't need to leave their actual native app that they're on. They don't have to go to your website if needed. They just are strictly on Google My Business. So that's something a lot of even restaurants really kind of tend to not think about. And if you're service based, Google also does offer other methods for you to put like your services. So for example, if you are a general contractor, right? So you can list the specific services that you offer as a general contractor. What I don't know the actual specifics, but let's say like bathroom remodeling, kitchen remodeling, right? So you put those actual specifics. Again, just the more specific you are with people and the more information that you put into your Google My Business, again, treating it as a social media platform or even as a website in a way, is just the best way to be able to collect those customers, whether it's services or a restaurant or anything like that. That would probably be the best thing to do.
Yeah, it's kind of like your presentation card. Like, you want to keep it up to date when you're applying to a job. Your resume has to be up to date on everything, on all the skill sets, on everything that you do. You want to be able to do the same thing. You want to also tell these algorithms, these platforms, these bots that are crawling Google and Apple and all that, that you're a business that actually updates every part of your Google business profile, of your Apple Maps profile. It means you care enough to keep your customers engaged, and that signals to them to bring you higher up on the rankings. Because if somebody that's a competitor of yours who might be getting good business but doesn't do that online, they may not rank higher, and that might be your upper hand in order to be able to get that foot traffic brought over to your store rather than theirs. Kevin, you have anything to add?
Yeah, actually, I think the only thing I could add really is the on an aesthetic side, people judge a book by its cover. It's just a natural human tendency. So when it comes to the photos, that the official photos of your profile in Google Business, it's worth really taking the time to actually create quality content there. I can't tell you how many times I've seen a Google business profile of a business that is clearly a great business, a great experience, but their photos are just sloppy, or they're just like random angles of an iPhone pointed in some direction. Think of it like an Airbnb or like any other place where you really take it seriously in terms of what you're looking at before you book, and commit yourself and your time and your money. You really want to represent yourself in the best possible way. So really invest in that. It's worth then paying a professional photographer or someone who really can showcase what it is that your business offers in the best way, especially if it's a business that relies on that. Let it be a restaurant, a club, a lounge, or really anywhere for that matter. I mean, just to see a nice environment, even if it's like a doctor's office, but you see beautiful images of the waiting room and it just feels more inviting. It's very much worth taking the time to do as good of a job as you can to represent your business visually in that way.
And by the way, y'all, for those of you listening, combined collectively, the three of us here have reached probably tens of millions of views on Google business profiles,
Nice.
or even pages that we send traffic to. So we know what we're talking about here because we actually test this on a daily basis in multiple industry verticals. It's not just hospitality, but it's med spas, it's roofing companies, it's construction companies. This works for all types of local businesses and doesn't require for you to have a crazy marketer for you to be doing it. This is if you're a business owner that's a little bit tech savvy, understand social media, you could be implementing this yourself. And if you're not ready to implement this yourself, you could hit up Michelle at uadv.net and she'll make sure to put you on the right track to set you up, whether you're a product or service-based business. But
also to throw it in there, yes, we are experts. However, SEO and even just marketing in general is an ever-changing game.
Mm-hmm.
What works now might not work tomorrow. What works tomorrow might not work in 5 years. So take everything right now that we tell you with a grain of salt, and always just do your own diligent due research, and always stay up to date with the latest marketing trends or SEO trends, which is also why it's great to have an expert. Because let's say if you're a business owner and you're not really spending the time to do digital marketing, like you don't have the time to be sitting around watching all these crazy podcasts like we do, or read books or take courses on things along that nature, to be always refreshing the knowledge you have.
I agree 1,000%. This stuff changes all the time, just like any other field. You got to be up to date with it. I recommend that if you are listening to this right now, you check the date when we're dropping it. This is likely sometime in March 2025. If you guys have any specific questions past this date, you think it's a little bit too old, you could hit us up at Alex Quinn, Quin on Instagram. Drop us questions via DM or on one of our recent posts, or Michelle Chia, just how you're going to see her name spelled out on the episode, or even Kevin Pimentel. We're all pretty active and we answer questions to local business owners that hit us up all the time. Happy to help. So just know that you guys can lean on us for that. Michelle, I wanted to talk a little bit and briefly about Apple Maps, because you always hear people talk about, oh, Google, I want to show up on Google, I want to show up on Google, but Apple Maps is kind of like never in the conversation. And it's always like we're always bringing it up to people. And they're like, oh yeah, Apple Maps. Like, what's up with Apple Maps? Why do people need to be on Apple Maps?
So Apple Maps obviously is one of the most popular map platforms because it's, it's on our iPhone. Everybody has an iPhone at the end of the day. To be quite frank with you, I absolutely, and as I could imagine a lot of Apple Map SEO experts know, Apple Maps sucks. Like in regards to the back end side of it, it is almost impossible to use compared to Google My Business and other listing platforms. I honestly very much hope in the next upcoming years that Apple Maps like really gets their shit together and makes it a lot easier for marketers to be able to work things around, like similar to how you do it on Google My Business. However, just because it's hard doesn't mean it's not impossible, or it is impossible. It just, all you really need to do is claim your business. The amount of businesses that do not have their Apple Maps claimed is absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. Most of our clients actually didn't have any of their Apple Maps listings claimed. So claiming it is fairly simple. You just do have to go through your own process and trying to update things and certain things. It's very similar to Google My Business in regards to like you having to update things. You could do offers on there, like discounts, or like, let's say, again, I keep saying restaurants, so bear with me, but let's do a restaurant example and you have a new menu item. You could do a post similar to Google announcing that you have a new menu item for a certain amount of time. And that will pop up on your actual Apple Maps listing.
Yeah. Thank you, Michelle. And I don't
know, Kevin, if you know anything else more on Apple Maps besides that.
No, but I do. There was this software that Kevin and I talked about a while back, which I'm sure would be a great point to interject on. Kevin, you might want to unpack that a bit.
Sure. So actually, one of the workarounds of this is that, and that to Michelle's point, it's like it's kind of hard with all of these different platforms and websites, and each one has their own way of how they work, and it's a lot to manage. It can be a lot to just manage in general, especially if you have multiple locations that you're managing on multiple platforms. So one industry platform, especially for local brick and mortar businesses that these companies use, is an app called Yext, Yext. And you can go to yext.com and find this website that allows you to basically list your business across, I think it's over 100 different platforms. And what it does is it creates a consistency across the entire net. And basically you can change any information about your company, and then it can automatically update all of the profiles across the board at the same time. And it does it through a back-end access to each of these. So these kinds of platforms will help you overcome the challenge of being able to get certain updates showing up. Because usually people wait until Google indexes things and then finally shows up on another platform, when in reality you can use a platform like this and immediately within, let's say, a few weeks time, you can have it listed on all of these platforms, from Yelp to Facebook page to creating a Facebook page, to Google Business, to Apple Maps, but then also car GPSs, like different car makers. Mm-hmm. And then you also have Uber. If it's a food company, this also helps getting listed on Uber Eats and such. So there's just a number of advantages you can get when you use a platform like that to be able to solve this issue across the board on all platforms.
Give them your promo code, Kevin.
Yeah,
actually, I mentioned that to Alex. I said we need to add the affiliate code.
But by the way, I don't think we are affiliates. We're not affiliates, right? No, we're not.
No,
I'm just kidding. Don't use that.
Not at all.
Yeah. We have affiliate disclaimers all over the website and show notes, by the way. Also, when we recommend you a software, there's a very big chance that we work with them. So just be wary of that, okay? Guys, thank you for breaking down the practical part of doing it yourself, and also Kevin, the software part of being able to get a little bit of extra help by spending the extra money and appearing in other places you would have otherwise not appeared in. Let's talk about customer reviews influencing rankings and what's the best way to get more positive reviews. Michelle, we seem to be working on this more and more on a daily basis now, specifically for one of our restaurant clients that recently launched. We're making sure that we identify all the reviews, by review type, the amount of stars that we get, what the main complaint was, and a few other factors to be able to relay back to the management teams and be able to address these. Because I know our policy is not to ignore them, but to actually address them and make an actual intentional effort to fix it. And for people who are actually seeing the reviews and our responses to the reviews to know that we care enough about our customers to actually give them some time. So I'll go ahead and ask the question, I guess, Michelle. How do customer reviews influence rankings, and what's the best way to get more positive reviews?
So I would say like customer reviews in regards to influencing ranking, I would definitely say it influences people way more than ranking. Obviously, Google really matters, like you get a bunch of reviews, but the way that humans react to reviews is pretty bonkers. So as a human person yourself, like the first thing that you do when you look up whether it's a service, whether it's a product, the first thing you look at is the reviews, right? Because as human nature, we tend to follow the pack, right? There's obviously very little people who are leaders and are the first ones to take the initiative to do things. But just as normal everyday folk, we tend to follow the pact of whoever, follow the pact and follow the group, correct? So if you have, like, let's say you go on Amazon, right? You go on Amazon.com and you search up a product, you're more than likely going to click on the product that has either a 4 to 5 star review, thousands of reviews, and just a good overall review rating. They don't have a lot of 1 stars, and mostly obviously 5 to 4 stars. In regards to handling reviews, I would say yes. Okay, so let's say for the positive reviews, it is great for you to always obviously reply to every single review you get. And there may be at times where you get, let's say, a 1 to 2 star review. Some people tend to ignore them. However, that is not the correct way, especially when it comes to Google My Business. You almost just want to go full force and confront the person in the nicest way possible. So let's say, for example, they leave you a bad 1 star review at a restaurant. You would then personalize your message. So you tell them, "Hi, Alex. We apologize for the bad experience you had here. Specify what went wrong." Like, let's say they say the food was bad and the service was bad, right? So your review reply would say anything like, "Hi, Alex. We sincerely apologize for the minestrone coming to you cold and your server for dropping water on the table," right? For example. Then your next thing would be anything along the lines of, "We would love to discuss your experience more in detail. Please email or call us," and then give them a specified custom email, let's say support at whatever website.com.
Right.
And give them the option to reach out to you about that experience, right? So from there, you open up the doors of communication. And not only does that seem more personal to other people who did not experience what he or she or they experienced, but now you are also able to speak to the person who had that bad experience, and who knows, maybe even help them turn their review experience around.
Yeah, I agree. And that only shows
Yeah.
the client that you care. It shows the community that you care, and it's actually genuine and honest and ethical that you're actually trying to fix the problem. So you're actually killing like 3 or 4 birds with 1 stone. Kev, did you want to interject?
I mean, honestly, she really hit it on the nail. The reality is that people. It goes back to even judging a book by its cover. The reviews are the critiques, the reviews of like the movie, right? If you heard a bunch of people say a movie sucks, you don't even have to look at the cover. You're already like, I heard it sucks. I don't know. Maybe I'm not gonna really watch it. And
Yeah.
that can be brutal, and that can cost so much money when you think about how many people are turned away from a business. So ultimately, it's not just pretending that there's been no problems. It's admitting that no one's perfect, no business is perfect, and accepting the responsibility if there is something wrong, acknowledging the issues that the person is bringing up so that you're not gaslighting them or pretending like nothing happened, and just saying, "We're sorry, I'm
Yeah.
sorry." It's more than we're sorry. It's, "We're sorry. You have a point. We make an effort to try to correct this." And then, like Michelle said, here's a way in which you can resolve this, which also lets other people know, like, wow, the company literally gave them direct contact for them to reach out to instead of just giving some generic response. And also, that is another thing, making sure that the responses are unique. As much as it sucks when you have a lot of reviews to not want to give a generic response, It can
Don't
be
copy
really
and
putting
paste.
off when you see a copy paste like, thank you so much for this review, it's great. Thank you so much for this review, it's great. We acknowledge our problem. Like the people see right through that, and it just doesn't look legitimate. So be human. And I think honestly, the more genuine you come off as a business, the more people feel comfortable with the business and saying it's genuinely trying to give them good service and a good experience.
And there's something that Michelle and I recently learned at a mastermind that we were at from one of our mentors, and it's if one person says it, 100 or 1,000 people are thinking it. So don't
Mm,
ever think that,
that's a
oh,
great
that's just
point.
one person
Wow.
saying that. Nobody feels that way. Hey, you might have a big problem on your hands that you're not aware of, and that person just called you out, and that is a blessing in disguise.
You want to know something interesting about that? Something happened actually recently with a client. This has to do more with an e-commerce thing. So it was something that was happening. We never knew what was going on in the background until someone decided to speak on it. So it's to your point. Most people might not even comment on it. They just saw it, were turned off, and left.
They're like, oh, that's
Whereas one
dumb.
person, one person finally was like, you know what? I'm gonna let them know, and thank God for that, because actually that's like deep insight. And an issue we went through was this app was blocking another app from functioning. So like when they added a certain product and a certain number on their cart was reached, they're supposed to get a free gift. Well, it was adding the free gift, but if they turned one option on one of these products variants, like type of version of that product, it disqualified the discount. So in checkout, it would show them that they actually had to pay for that gift.
Yeah.
So then it looked like we were trying to jip them, where it said it was a free gift, and then it looked like they had to pay. And we didn't even realize it was happening until someone sent an email and said, yeah, I see what you tried to do there. You tried to hustle me. And we're like, hustle? Like, what? And then when we saw it, we freaked out, but then we found it that there was a code that was blocking like how a function of an app worked. And it only came out because it's for one product, it's a very specific situation. But it could cost a lot when we realized how much money was being lost from people who were probably turned off when they got to the end of the checkout. So yeah, no, it's your negative reviews can be your saviors sometimes if you really are paying attention and listening to their complaints.
So long story short, y'all, give a shit about your clients. Don't be cocky. Oh, that doesn't happen here. Oh, it couldn't have been. It's not my staff. My staff doesn't do that. Stop. Sometimes there's people that are lying. Sometimes you'll have competitors that send people to you and shit on your business and give you bad reviews, and you have to be able to recognize that too. Yeah, we've seen that. But
Know
just
who
keep
you
ethical.
are.
Ethical, and don't do that to people, by the way. Don't send somebody to give reviews like that. I think it goes unsaid, but just understand that that's not a tactic. We always want to make sure we stick to white hat tactics in marketing, no black hat. And now to guys, I want to power through a few of these that we have left, and we'll wrap it up here. So what does it take, Michelle, for a business to show up on the map pack?
I feel like we kind of answered those pretty much the same thing in regards to just keeping your business optimized, your Google My Business optimized, being across the board on all citation platforms,
And
depending on
implementing
your business.
review systems. I think this is where maybe you could break down some of those really cool strategies that you've been using for years now for brick and mortar businesses to get review systems. Because one thing is to respond to reviews that come in, right? And another thing is to incentivize staff to get reviews to then respond to those reviews. And in doing so, you'll get more reviews and then come up higher on the listing. So maybe we could talk about that.
Yeah, so there's obviously, so you have your white hats and your black hat tactics, right? You have your black hat tactics where you can get a bunch of Google profiles, your friends and your family to leave a bunch of reviews onto your business. Again, not really shitting on that because you got to start somewhere.
And if they actually use your service, then I mean,
Correct. If
yeah.
you're actually been to that place and your family's actually experienced or your friends have actually experienced it, by all means, please do that. However, the black hack tactic is when you go gun ho and fucking start to pile your Google business with reviews and your business hasn't even opened yet, for example.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Some white hack tactics I would say is to really incentivize not only your customers, but to incentivize your employees. Something I really, really value is company culture. And I think that really stems into my food industry background where I've had the opportunity to work with some really, really great, amazing people. And from that is how I got not only the confidence, but what's the word I'm looking for? Inspiration, I guess, or the push to want to be a better employee. So by hence being a better employee, you have a better business, right? If I enjoy working there, I will enjoy the time that I am there and I will work hard. And let's say if I'm serving tables, I'm going to serve those tables like I've never served them before because I typically enjoy being there. So some really great ways to incentivize your employees. for example, would be to maybe do a review pool at the end of the month. So you do a review competition on whoever has the most named reviews. So let's say, like, for example, again, back to me working the food industry. If I have a bunch of reviews that come in at the end of the month that say, oh, Michelle was great. Oh, Michelle did great. Oh, I love Michelle so much. Gonna come back just for Michelle. If I, let's say in regards or compared to my other server and employee friends, if I have the most amount of reviews collected at the end of the month, I will then get incentivized to win something, right? So let's say, for example, we used to do it back at the restaurant that I used to work at. We would win things like manicures, pedicures, trips, freaking video games sometimes, whatever would be more exciting to, let's say for me, whatever's more exciting for me is going to be different than whatever's more exciting for Alex, right? So you have to also customize those winning packages or winning incentives to that specific employee, which again then ties into your employee culture, right? Because by me knowing what you like the most, that also means I know you as a person. And by me knowing you as a person,
I care. Yeah.
Exactly, you care. The same way you care about your customers, you got to care about your employees, because at the end of the day, your customers aren't the ones fucking serving tables. You're the one, your employees are the ones that are serving tables.
Yeah, and pissing off the customers.
Exactly. If you don't like, if somebody doesn't like, when you, example, you go to Domino's or freaking, I don't even know where else, people always have a shit attitude. Like, let's say you go to freaking McDonald's. You go to McDonald's, half the people that work there hate their lives and they don't want to work there. And you're like, you know what? I don't even want to come here anymore.
Versus Chick-fil-A, where everybody's nice to you,
exactly.
and you want to go there and it's full all the time. Yeah.
Exactly.
And they're known for their service.
They're known for their service. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. One sec, y'all. I have a few more things here before we wrap it up. We talked about this already. I'm going through our notes. Okay.
We can do the Q&A question, because I feel like a lot of people don't know the Q&A stuff.
Sure.
It's the one all the way at the bottom.
Before we go into that one, I wanted to ask one specific one, because I know this one's important. How much does your actual website, the state of your website, affect the ranking of your local business listings like Apple Maps and Google My Business? Because you might have them updated. You might have them rocking and rolling with everything that we just mentioned, but you might have a slow website or a website with a bad user experience, and that might be screwing you up in rankings, and that might be the reason why you're not actually, being on the top of the map pack. So you want to break that down a little bit?
Kev, you want to jump in? I feel like I keep going first.
Yeah, we can talk website speed, we can talk structure, we could talk mobility, making sure they hit enough pages, that it's not boring.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first off, having an active website that people can access easily, that's the first step, right? Because a lot of times local businesses tend to overlook that. They think that because they're a physical business, they don't necessarily have to commit to doing a strong digital representation. Not, of course, all of them, but a lot of them that are just really focused on the physical aspect of their business and catering to those customers. Have a website that is functional, that is clean, done on a platform that also is going to support a smooth working website. The idea is you don't necessarily have to go out of your way and hire a web designer that's going to cost thousands of dollars, but you also don't want to just go into kind of like your cookie cutter blocked website that's just like a fixed template from some like sub third party engine that's not really even anything that's out there, but they say that they can get your business on a website. The reality is stick to something that's fluid and that's going to represent your business well without having to overcomplicate the accessibility of your website. So you're talking about platforms like, for example, in e-commerce, you could use something like Shopify for e-commerce, but for a regular website, although, we're not necessarily always open to that platform, but like even something like Wix or Squarespace or even Webflow for that matter, depending on the experience you have or anyone that you're working with on your team that can work with websites. But it's just important to have something that's going to be fluid, that's going to be smooth, and that's going to look right and function correctly so that when people are clicking on your website, your buttons are all correct. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a business's website where you click on a link and it's just a dead link after a dead link, or this one is like some old page that's no longer connected because they changed the URL, and it's like,
or it's loading forever,
attention.
like super slow, heavy pages, heavy pictures, heavy videos.
Exactly. And that's the other thing too. It's if you, and actually, let me clarify something from the website side. If you're a business owner and web design or web development or whatever is not your thing, don't do it. Don't just go into some random place, upload whatever and assume it's fine. Do the minimum of getting someone who at least can do the bare minimum of getting something clean enough set up correctly so that at least that infrastructure is set up, because you could do more damage to yourself trying to do the right thing but not knowing at all what you're doing than you can to just have a little bit invested in someone doing something, even in a minimal way, but technically is working for you. I mean, that's the most important part. Even if your website is just linking back to your Google business with beautiful images and everything's fluid, but at least there's something working, it looks right enough, and it's connected and clicking into the right pages. The basics.
Yeah, so I also want to throw in that even though, let's say you are now in the process of working on your website, right? You're almost done, but you're like, oh, it's not perfect yet. Done is better than perfect. And I should honestly take my own advice because I am a very OCD like person. So I'm always like, no. Like I cannot launch it until it's ready. A good hack, I would say, even if your website isn't ready, at least have a coming soon page. Coming soon, freaking put a form on there that's like, well, we're not ready, but give us your information. When we're ready, we'll let you know. But at least you have something to show, and you don't just have either no link to your website, no website at all, or you have a website that has a bunch of everywhere because it's not ready.
And make sure to buy an SSL certificate for your site. So when Google sends people to your website, it has a security certificate. It's safe. It's fast. It loads. It loads on tablet. It loads on desktop. It loads on phone. You guys know the deal, all right? If you guys are listening to this, it means you more or less already know what's going on. We're just kind of giving you the little details to make sure you guys lock in. Okay. Michelle, you mentioned Q&A. How important is it answering customer questions in the Q&A section of Google Business?
So a thing that a lot of people do not do is and do not know, there's actually a question area on your Google My Business. If you check them out, usually they go unanswered. But those are actually frequently asked questions that customers will ask you. You can actually even put them yourself, right? So let's say you yourself know what your customers ask, you can put them yourself and you don't have to wait for somebody to ask you. However, those frequently asked questions are easy ways for people as consumers to better understand what you are offering because again, those are just questions that are frequently asked. So for example, if you're a nightclub, right? The common questions that people are going to ask you: what's the age limit? Do I need table reservations? How much do bottles cost? What time do you guys close? What time do you guys open?
Is there a cover? All that, yeah.
Is there a cover? What type of music do you play? Right? So not only do those frequently asked questions need to be on your Google My Business, but they also need to be on your website, right? And a good hack that you could do, for example, is use local in search intent keywords and then put those into your FAQs, right? So we have a lot of dispensary clients in DC, right? So a very frequently asked question is, how do I get weed in DC? And guess what? A very, very popular keyword is weed in DC. So by you putting that frequently asked question on both your website and your Google My Business is, how do I get weed in DC? You now answer that question. You can get weed in DC by doing this, this, and this at blank dispensary name, right? So now you have a higher chance to rank for specifically that weed in DC keyword because you were able to put it in your frequently asked questions. Obviously, you have to put it everywhere else on your website, but at least you have it on your frequently asked questions as well.
All right, guys. So look, you heard it. Whether you're a restaurant, bar, club, acupuncture, Pilates, cannabis dispensary, if you're a local business that has a physical location and you want to bring in more foot traffic, maybe you're already running ads but don't want to spend more on ads, or you already have that running, but you really want to focus on getting this part locked in. All of these little details are going to be crucial. If you have more questions, drop them on the YouTube video if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're listening on a streaming platform, hit us up on social media, specifically on Instagram. Alex Quinn, Quin, is mine. Michelle Chia is Michelle Chia, Chia, 2 L's on the Michelle. And then Kevin Pimentel is InstaKev, right? Or what's yours?
InstaKevin. Yeah, but Kevin, Keven.
With a K.
En.
Kevin.
Yeah. Kevin. No, not Kevin, but you can say it that way to remember. I can't have people thinking that's what it is.
All right, guys. And if this sounds like it's too much, you don't have time, you don't want to do it, you're just not that type of person, you could go to uadv.net and hit us up. You could go to the contact page, hit us up. We'll be happy to answer any of your questions, help you run your marketing, your SEO, your paid ads, your local search, everything to get people walking through that door and spending money. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Alex Quinn, Hustle Inspires Hustle Podcast. See you in the next episode.